Hi everyone, Crista Cowan here with another episode of The Barefoot Genealogist. Today's topic is researching your ethnic origins, and I'll share with you a few of my favorite resources, a couple of unique resources that you might not be aware of. Before we dive into that, I just have a couple of quick announcements. In 2 hours, if you're watching this live, in 2 hours at 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific, Juliana Smith will be doing a free webinar, a 1 hour free webinar on researching common surnames. And with a surname like Smith, she certainly understands all about how to pick your ancestor out of a crowd of other John Smiths. So we hope you'll join us for that. I'll be moderating that event. Juliana will be presenting. Again, that's free, and it'll be for about an hour, and it'll start at 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific today. The date today is Thursday, May 24th. So if you're watching this live, hopefully you can join us for that. If you're watching this on replay, you should be able to find that webinar. We'll have it archived within just a couple of days after it airs today. In our Learning Center, if you just go to webinars, you should be able to see all of our past webinars, our archived webinars that we've done on a variety of different topics specific to Ancestry.com, also some specific methodology classes like the one that Juliana will be teaching today. So hopefully you'll join us for that. So let's talk about today's topic. Ethnic origins is kind of a broad topic, and we've only got 20 minutes, and so I'm going to see if I can't run through a bunch of different resources that are available to you. And the first two that we're going to talk about are specific to U.S. subscribers mostly, and then the next resource that we're going to talk about, you're going to need a World Explorer subscription in order to access the records. So you can access the databases, you can see what we have, and I'll point out as we go along what you can and can't see without a world subscription. But in order to actually view the records in some of the databases we're going to be talking about today, you're going to need to have that world subscription. You can check to see what subscription you're on. When you're on your Ancestry page, in the top right-hand corner, there's your name is listed, and you can just click on your account details, and it'll tell you exactly what subscription you have and when that subscription expires, also when it started, so you can tell if you have a year at a time or if you're just paying month to month. So that's the way that works. And then, of course, if you want to upgrade, you can do it right there on the site, or you can call Member Services. Their number is 1-800-ANCESTRY. We try to make it real complicated. So 1-800-ANCESTRY if you have any questions about your account or want to upgrade and can't quite figure out how to do that online. So let's dive into today's presentation. Unique resources for researching ethnic origins. And all of us have, depends on how you define ethnicity. Strictly speaking, it's typically tied to race, but more broadly speaking, when we're talking about genealogy, it starts to go into regions of the world where your ancestors were from, and we'll look at some of those resources available. So the first thing that I want to talk about is what you're going to find in our special collections. So right now we have 2 special collection pages, and here's how you're going to find those. I'll spell it out here, and then I'll actually jump over to the website so you can see where I go. It's going to be under Search All Records, and there's going to be a special collections section, and then you're going to have links to African American history or Jewish family history where you can go to search those records specifically. So here's what that looks like. You're going to click on Search All Records, which is this top option here under Search. And then instead of filling in these pretty search boxes, scroll down the page, and on the bottom right-hand side, you're going to see this little section called Special Collections. And we frequently rotate different things through here. We've done, a military page. We've done vital records page. It looks like right now we're spotlighting a State of New York 400th anniversary page. But you'll also see here this African American collections and this Jewish family history. Now this is really small on my screen, so if you're watching this in a small video viewer, hover over your video viewer and see if you can't make it full screen. It'll make it a little bit easier to read as you follow along here. So let's look first at the African American history collection page. What this does is it provides you a way to search all records where race is specified and African Americans are included. So you can just, from this one search box, you can get search results that are specific to African American ethnicity. And so I could come in here and I could fill in William Cowan, and then click search, and what you're going to see is some results that are specific, you'll see here, to African Americans. Freedmen Bank records, some slave manifests, just lots of different kinds of records available here. Now, some of you may be viewing your search results like this. It's going to take it a second to load, but when it does, this may look familiar to you. This is kind of the default view for viewing search results, and it's done based on ranking, how many stars, and the more stars, the higher up on the list it goes. But I look at it this way and kind of see what floats to the top of the list, but then almost always I'll go to summarize by category so that I can see what specific databases and how many results in each database are being shown to me. So again, that's on our African American landing page, and the search thing you can do with any search results, but this is a specific way for you to get into African American records. Now, we also have over here on the right-hand side some featured collections. One of the things that I've discovered as I spend time with you at conferences and events, and as I learn about the way that you use the site, is that a lot of you are relying just on hints, which is a great place to start, but certainly doesn't get into the depth of the databases that Ancestry.com has. If you remember, if we go into our card catalog, and I'll open this up here in another tab, Ancestry.com has over 30,000 databases, 30,677 as of today, and we're adding new databases every day. And so the ones that are hinting are going to usually be these most popular databases, our public member trees, those U.S. federal censuses. Those are the records that are going to be hinting the most. Those are also the records that are going to show up when you're ranking things in the top in your search results. And so it's not that this stuff won't ever show up, this other stuff won't ever show up. It's just that it's less likely to show up near the top of the list, and so you may miss it altogether. And so we try to provide you with other views into this data so that you know that other records exist. So as you start thinking about what you're looking for as you're doing your research, you might come in here and say, you know what, maybe I'm interested in these Puerto Rican records from 1872. And you can go directly to that database. And if you've been with me for any length of time, you know that I always encourage you strongly to scroll past that search box and read this database description. Basically, this particular database is a register of slaves in Puerto Rico in 1872. And then we give you some information about when and where and why those records were created, the conditions under which those records were created, who held those records, what areas or districts in this case this database covers, and then what information may or may not be included in those particular records. Now, this moves us into another issue that we're gonna attack here again in just a minute, but these particular records are in Spanish because they're Puerto Rican records, right? And we index the records as we receive them, and we let you view them as we receive them. We're not translating those records. You'll notice we do translate some of these fields, right? And so you'll come in here and you'll view this record, and actually this was the one I was looking for. I just couldn't remember how to spell this last name. So you come in here and you'll see we've translated the field names. So on the record itself, each of these field names will likely be in Spanish. We have translated those. What we have not translated in many cases is the actual record itself. Now, in some cases, things like a date or a name, it is what it is. I hate that phrase, but there you go. It's just there, right? It's a date, and so it doesn't matter that it's not written in English. The numbers are the same, okay? But in some cases, like in this case, marital status here, you can see in very faint writing, and I don't know if you can see that. I'll highlight it so maybe it makes it a little clearer, that will translate standard fields. So when you actually click through to view the record, however, what you're going to notice is now all of those fields that we had translated for you are in Spanish, okay? And so one of the things that I use a lot is Google Translate. If you just go to translate.google.com, and you can set this to be whatever you want. So I'm going to say I want it to be from Spanish into English into English, right? Now, I can't copy and paste anything because this is an image, right? But I can go in here and I can say, nombre del esclavo, right? Do you love my Spanish accent? So, and I can come in here and I can type that, right? And it automatically, as I'm typing it, it translates it over here, okay? And so it's just sometimes that simple. So just don't be deterred by the fact that the records aren't necessarily in a language that you might speak, because this Google Translate, as you can see, very simple. I just typed in what I saw, it gave me a translation. Sometimes those translations are a little rough and you have to use a little common sense or a little context to figure out what they mean. But again, you just come over here, you read the field, you come back over here, you type the field, and it'll tell you exactly what that field means. So that's how I read foreign language records in particular. Now, back to our special collections. So that's the African American collections page. Again, it'll allow you to search all African American records and get only those search results, or you can look at the highlighted databases to see what's available. Now, our Jewish family history page is a little bit more involved. You'll see there are tabs here. On the African American page, there was only 2 tabs, all African American records or just census records only. This has Jewish records broken out kind of roughly by continent. So you can do all Jewish records, you can do North American Jewish records or records of Jewish people, European records, and then other countries. And then we have a special tab here just for Holocaust records. So you can search specific to the place or the location where your family was from, or where the records are that you're looking for, or you can just stay on this first tab and search all. Again, what it does is it will return search results, but only if that ethnicity was somehow stated in the record. So some of the ways that shows up in Jewish records are the language spoken, maybe Hebrew or Yiddish, as listed on a census record. The ethnicity may be listed as Jewish or Hebrew on an immigration record or a passenger list. So even though that specific database, the 1930 census or the New York passenger list, even though that specific database isn't targeted towards this particular ethnicity, there are ways we can tell ethnicity from some of those records. So if we can tell ethnicity from a record, we're going to return search results. Or if there is a specific database that is about that ethnicity, like with the slave manifests or the freedmen's records for African Americans, here we have things like the American Jewish Historical Society has a set of records that we've digitized and put online. Those are Jewish specific, and so we've included those. We also, and some of you may be aware of this, we host Jewish Gen, which is the largest free Jewish research resource available online, and we host their data or mirror their data on our website as well. So a lot of these databases are actually free. You'll see it's under this free collections heading, and you can click to see all records, and any of the free records will have just a little free tag right here next to the name of the database. And then you can again go through and say, I'm interested in records. Now you'll notice in these collections what we've tried to do is we've tried to put the name of the country as the first word in the database title, so that you can quickly just glance through and you can say, my family was from, Lithuania. And so you can scroll down to the section on Lithuania. Here we have birth records from various towns from 1822 to 1940. It's a free database. Maybe that's the one I'm interested in. Again, remember, you're going to scroll down past and read this database description. In this case, what the database description gives you is probably going to save you a lot of time, because if you happen to know where in Lithuania your family came from, and you know the years that you're looking for, or an approximate year that you're looking for a birth record, you can just quickly glance at this chart to see, my family is from this place, they were born about 1867, it looks like they're going to have those records. And then you can search. Whereas if you just started searching, we may or may not even have the town, and we may or may not have the years specific to that town that you're looking for. So you can search specific databases that way. One of the other things that sometimes gets overlooked is whenever you're in a specific database doing some searches, we try to provide you with a list of related data collections over here on the right-hand side. I don't know if you've noticed that before, but you're in the Lithuania birth records. So we're going to show you that we also have Lithuania marriage and divorce records and death records and tax and voter lists. We also have a city directory from one of the large cities in Lithuania, and then more directories that cover actually over a century here from several of the small towns and shtetls. So pay attention to this related data collections list whenever you're in a database, and that goes true for whatever records you're searching. We try to show you a list of other databases that you might be interested in searching. Okay, let's see where that took us. So that's our special collections, and the two particular ethnicities that we address in special collections are African American history and Jewish family history. One other thing I just want to show you, whenever you're on a main search box, so like on the home page or on the main search page, at the very bottom of that search box, just above the search button, you're going to see this collection priority. Now that collection priority, the way that we use that is it's done by location or by ethnicity. And the best way that I use it is when I'm looking for records. For example, you'll see here I've got it selected as United States, and then I have this little checkbox checked that says show only records from these collections. So for example, if I'm looking for somebody who was born in Virginia and died in South Carolina, I don't want to see records from England. I don't care that the person has the exact same name and was born in the exact same year. If I know they were born in Virginia, I only want to see U.S. records. Now, we show you those other search results when you don't have this checked, because you never know, right? Some people aren't real clear on the details about what they're searching, and we want them to have success. But if you know what you're looking for, then make sure you check this, right? And so you can select only show me records from England, or only show me records from Germany, or only show me records from the United States, whatever, right? You can also select an ethnicity, so that your searches are only showing you records from those places. Now this African American one and this Jewish one, basically they do the exact same thing that those landing pages do. So if you're searching all Jewish records or you're searching all African American records on one of those pages, it's doing the same thing it would do if you did it here. Okay, but you'll notice we have a third ethnicity added here in the search box that we don't have a landing page for yet. And we have a lot of records for Native Americans, and we have some ways in record collections to determine if someone is Native American. And so we've provided you with that additional ethnicity here that will allow you to filter those search results to the top of your list. Again, it's just a priority on Native American records. So as I'm searching, those are what are going to rise to the top of my list. Again, that's on any search box. So if you're on your home page or if you're on your search page, scroll down to just above that orange search button, and you're going to see collection priority. You can set country or ethnicity. You can't set both, so it's one or the other, but we've provided you with an additional ethnicity there that you can search. Okay. So we're running out of time, and I've still got like 3 more things to cover. So the other thing you can do, so now we're getting more away from specific racial identity to just some ethnicity ideas about location. One of the questions that I get asked all the time in my email box and on chat, and as I'm on tweet chat, I get asked all the time, does Ancestry.com have records for such and such a location? And my answer always is, go to the card catalog, right? Go explore what records we have. So there's 2 different ways you can do that. The first one is by the map, which I'll show you, and here, this is how you find it. You explore by location. Or the second is the card catalog. So here's how you're going to find the map. The map is going to be under Search All Records, and you're going to scroll past this search box, and you're going to see the map. Now, if you're in the United States and you have a U.S. subscription, the default is going to be a map of the United States, right? But you'll see there's these little tabs here, UK and Ireland, Europe, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. I can click on one of those tabs, and it changes the map. And then I can click on any one of these countries. So, I could click on Italy, for example, and it will show me, it will take me to what we call our Italy place page, and it will show me all the records that Ancestry.com has specific to that location. Now, we broke them into categories or record types. So we've got birth, marriage, and death, and military, and immigration. And we can only show you a few per category, or this page would be really long. So the very bottom link in each section just says View Other, and it'll take you to a list of all the databases, for example, all the birth, marriage, and death records that we have for Italy. Again, you'll notice it says in faint letters here in Italian. It also will tell you how many records are in that collection. So some of these birth, marriage, and death records, for example, run in the millions. Lots of records contained for those particular regions in Italy. And then you can click through to any one of those databases that's of interest to you. Scroll down past that search box to read about the records so that you know what you're looking at and what you're looking for, what's going to be included, what other types of records might exist, right? So these records aren't just birth, marriage, and death records as we think of them, right? It looks like there are also some marriage bans, there are some citizenship records, there's some other things, and then we list the towns that are included in this particular collection. And then, of course, you can scroll back up and search. Or, as always with collections that have images, you can come over here and you can browse directly to a set of records if you know the name of the town, and if you know the record type that you're interested in, the year. It'll take you to a set of images, and you'll see that for this particular town, Alcerio, I'm looking at marriage records for 1873. There's only 11 images, and so I can go through those one at a time, looking at these gorgeous, gorgeous images, and I can make them bigger and smaller and play with them that way. So that is how you use the place pages. Again, that's under search. You're going to scroll down past the search box to the map. And then once you get to the map, click on the country that you're interested in to see what records we have available. Now, the other way to do that is to use the card catalog. It's the very bottom option in search, and you can use the filters in the card catalog. Now, you can do this whether you have a subscription or not. You can see what records we have available for the country that you're interested in. You can even actually click through to the database and read those database descriptions and see what's on there. But if you don't have a world subscription, you're not going to be able to actually view those records. So that's where that break happens, or where you'll hit that, what we call that paywall. So I can come over here and I can filter by location. For example, I can go to Europe, and then I can go to Germany, and you'll see that of the 30,000 databases on Ancestry.com, 1,695 of them relate specifically to Germany. Maybe I'm interested in immigration to or from Germany, and now I've got 30 databases to go through here. 30 databases that contain immigration records into, or in some cases out of, Germany. So maybe your family came to the United States, but maybe they left from Germany. And so maybe I'm interested in this Hamburg passenger list. So again, these records are going to be usually in the language, and we'll state that really clearly. One of the things to note about this particular database, just as an FYI, and this is one of my favorites, is that only the years, and you're going to have to read this small print here, only the years 1877 to 1914 have been indexed. But you'll see up here this database covers 1850 to 1934. So there's some stuff on the front end and some stuff on the back end that has not been indexed yet. However, there is what we call the handwritten indexes. This particular database, it was created as a program in Germany, right? And you can read all about it here. But basically what they did is they went through and they created handwritten indexes of these records. So if you know, for example, that your family came in 1932, you can go directly to that section, and then they scroll down to the right year, click on that. You know that the last name of the family. Click on that, and then it will take you to a section of, in this case, 31 images, where you can go through, and you'll see here, these are indexes, but they're handwritten. And it'll tell you, the names of the people, and I'd have to do a little Google Translate on these field headers to figure out what they mean, but my guess is that this is the date of the ship's arrival, and that this is the page number or the image number on the ship that they're going to show up in. Now, the interesting thing about these to note, this Hamburg passenger list, is that the M's are just all sectioned together. they're not alphabetized, they're not strictly alphabetized. They're only alphabetized by letter, by first letter. So you'll notice, Mueller is here, and then I'm not even going to try and pronounce this name, but it starts with M-A-S or M-A-T here, right? So all the M's are together, but they're not alphabetized within the M's, if that makes sense. And then once you find the date and the page number that you're interested in, then you can go back to these Hamburg passenger lists. Remember, only these years are indexed. I'm interested in a year outside of that range, which is why I went and checked those handwritten indexes. Now I can come over here and I can say, oh, they came on this date, and they're going to be on maybe, image 73. And I can go directly to that image and now look for my family members on that page. So that's how those Hamburg passenger lists work. And as you may have noticed, by doing that, chances of those showing up in a search are pretty low because not all of the records have been indexed yet. So you'd have to know that those databases exist and then go actually figure out how to use that specific database. And so we provide you with all of these resources, but if you're not exploring what's available, either through this map or through the card catalog, you may be missing a whole bunch of stuff. The last thing I want to mention before we totally run out of time today is our new Ancestry DNA. So you're going to find that just right here on any of the home pages, or there's this DNA button, and you can click here to learn about Ancestry DNA, or we have our old Y and mtDNA tests that you can still take. But this new Ancestry DNA, one of the really cool things that it does is that it gives you percentages of your ethnicity. So it helps you to start to understand where to focus your research. For example, I haven't taken it yet. I hope to soon. But one of the things that it might show you is that maybe you thought that you were only from the British Isles, but now all of a sudden you've got German ancestry or Middle Eastern ancestry. And so it helps you to start to think about, well, where in my tree could that show up and where can I focus? It also will connect you with other researchers, other people who may have similar people in your family tree. So if you have DNA matches with people, we'll show you links in their tree that match links in your tree. So it's a really great collaborative tool, as well as this idea about discovering ethnicity or cultural roots along the way. So hopefully you can get on the list. There is a waiting list. We are having to throttle that a little bit because the labs have to process the DNA results, and then those DNA results have to be run through computations, and so we are doing that on a waiting list basis, and then we'll send you an email when your name comes up so that you can purchase your test. And then it just takes a few weeks from the time you return those results, or from the time you return that test to get your results. So hopefully you'll go check that out, or at least look into it. That's all I have for you today. Remember that at 3 o'clock Eastern, noon Pacific today, that's Thursday, May 24th, if you're watching this live, Juliana Smith will be doing a free webinar for an hour on finding your family members who have common surnames and helping to pick them out of a crowd. You can find out about that on the Ancestry.com Facebook page. If you just click on the events tab, there will be a link there to actually register for that webinar so that you know how to get into it. It's a little different than these live stream broadcasts. So the webinars, you actually have to have a link. You have to register ahead of time and then get a link. But you can register still now if you want to attend that, or we'll have it archived in the Learning Center within a few days if you don't have time or are watching this particular presentation archived as well. If you have any other questions, you can feel free to email me at ask@ancestry.com. I do read through all those emails with the help of Juliana and Anne, and we look at those, and that's how we develop our calendar for the topics that we're going to discuss in these broadcasts. Is based on the research challenges and questions that you're asking, we know what to address. That's all I have for you today. Until next time, this is Crista Cowan. Have fun climbing your family tree.